Well, this week has started out a little strange for everyone here, including you guys. As you know, Impact Wrestling changed to Tuesday nights to Thursday nights. NXT UK debuted Prelude, but also we got night 2 of NXT Takeover Stand and Deliver. So let's review, discuss, and talk about it on this episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, matches, wrestlers, and championships. I'm your host, J-Rod here. Sorry about that, my head is somewhere else. Before I start reviewing NXT UK Prelude and the rest, as you know, right now, this week is now different. I'm going to do the best I can to review whatever wrestling I got. I'm going to be far behind from whatever I missed from the Japanese wrestling scene, due to the fact that I got more wrestling to follow, which is the GCW collective that it's already started since yesterday. Today is April 9th. I still haven't seen 205 Live or the New Japan Strong, but I'll add a couple of another wrestling show too, and I won't release the review possibly the following day, all this and that. So that's pretty much it, what's been going on. So at this moment, let's just begin reviewing with NXT UK Prelude. Alright, so NXT UK debuted Prelude, which is something that was going to happen during WrestleMania week. As you know, there were some good, interesting matches that were set up for this particular week. Now, the opening match was the number one contendership for the Heritage Cup Championship between Tyler Bate and Noam Dar. Now, this was one of those storylines where you see Noam Dar, who is cocky. He felt that it should have been him winning. And of course, he criticized Tyler Bate. He wasn't there, and he had a shot right away. But however, they decided to set up a number one contendership who will face A-Kid for that title. So this became a Heritage Cup rules type match. However, each of these guys had their personal seconds right there. Tyler Bate had his mustache mountain friend. Tag team partner, of course, Trent Seven. And Noam Dar has Shaw Samuels. But before the match began, they received an unexpected message from the champion himself, the winner of the Heritage Cup, A-Kid, who indicated saying that he will stick close watching this match. So it was a pretty good, interesting match. You can tell that these two competitors are hungry to become number one contender, but the real question, who will be the lucky contender to face A-Kid for the Heritage Cup? Now, the first round goes to Tyler Bate. Second round, 0. Third round, 0. Fourth round goes to Noam Dar, so they're tied. But whoever wins the next round is the one who wins. And surprise, surprise, it was Tyler Bate who won. Of course, Shaw Samuels was taken out by Tyler Bate. As you know, Shaw would do anything for his closest friend. But that's what happened. So Tyler Bate became the number one contender for the Heritage Cup against A-Kid. Now, as you know what happened with Flash Morgan Webster, and of course, Mark Andrews, what is next to them? So they still haven't decided, because we know they're still, even though they lost to get a shot of the tag titles, but however, they're going to go back into training, and you see them actually training again with their dearest friend, Danny Luna, which is good. But you do see another group training. Piper Neves is trying to get Jake Stars back in the training mode, teaching him some aggressive styles that I don't think he's done before. Piper Niven has a different type of breed. You can say whatever she does, it'll probably be good for him. Next match is a women's tag team match. We got the Japanese final boss, Meiko Satomura, teaming with Emilia McKenzie, taking on Isla Daw and Kaylee Ray. This was a very interesting match because those who don't know, Meiko Satomura is the founder of Sendai Girls Pro Wrestling, which is the all Yoshi Pro Wrestling down in Japan. And Kenzie, before signing with WWE, actually trained there, and she actually participated in a lot of their events. So you see the connection right there. So it was a pretty good match, but you would have expected that this match was going to end in favor of Kaylee Ray and Isla Daw because they cheat. But however, it did not. Amelia was the one who picked up the victory for her team, giving a better, seeing what she can do. Don't know for sure if she will be the one to take on Kaylee Ray. But however, post-match, there was an unexpected visitor who has her sights on the final boss, Meiko Satomura. That is Aoife Valkyrie. Now, this is a very interesting story. Aoife Valkyrie is one of the most intense wrestlers. I think she's undefeated. I'm not 100% sure, but she's impressive. So, what better way to make her, her call saying, take a shot against Meiko Satomura. I think that was pretty brilliant. They went to that direction. But yeah. Now, as you know what happened last week, Amir Jordan was not happy to find out he got stabbed in the back and betrayed by someone who was his closest friend, Kenny Williams. He went to the PC Center to find him, but Sid Scally told him he wasn't there. But however, he did indicated that the following week, he and Kenny will be in a match, which Amir was okay with. Now, Kenny Williams, he is trying to say that he lost his touch. He wasn't the same guy that he remembered. Basically, it's kind of like the same scenario where we see, if you guys follow Prince Devitt, better known as Finn Balor, where he was trying to get Ryusuke Taguchi to go more of the aggressive side. But that's not what Taguchi wanted. But of course, that's ended the result of Apollo 55, where Finn Balor, Prince Devitt, wanted to go. It's kind of the same storyline. Even that's how it was. Now, the main event was for the NXT UK Championship between Rampage Brown and, of course, Walter. Now, this was also another masterpiece. Now, as you know, right now, Walter is the longest reigning NXT UK champion. But Rampage Brown, was he capable enough to, to defeat Walter and become the new NXT NXT UK champion? That is something that many of us question about him, but it was a brilliant match. They even used every move as possible, but Walter is more precise when it's the right moment to use one move that could end it. That's what he was doing, and that allowed him to win his match. He did something that helped him win when he goes on the top of the turnbuckle, and that's what happened. So he retained the title, but the real question is, who will be the one to dethrone him? That's another question for another time. So, right now, let's move on to day 2 of NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. Alright, so we're in night 2 of NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. This one had the opening match for the unification of the Cruiserweight title in the ladder match. Now, this particular match was sort of, inevitable to happen, because let's go back how this whole thing began. As you know, last year, or was it? Yeah, it was last year, early of 2020. Jordan Devlin won the vacant cruiserweight title, but things changed when the pandemic happened. Now, as you know, there is no NXT UK cruiserweight title whatsoever down there. But however, because of that, Jordan was unable to compete and put the title on the line. Originally, this was supposed to be an interim title, but it became where, okay, they take the interim and officially named um, this title the actual cruiserweight, which led to Jordan Devlin pissed, knowing that he hasn't lost the title. You see, he does have a point. He never lost the title. He never relinquished it. Then Santos, when he met him, he said that, oh, people forgot about him. I mean, come on, I haven't forgot about him, but it was a good match. But however, you forget Tweedledee and Tweedledum showed up and helped out, and of course the people were backing Santos. I mean, that to me, he plays a heel, but that's, I mean, it's not the same. The thing is, it's the same shit we saw with Becky Lynch, where they were trying to turn her as a heel, but people were cheering for her. It's the same thing. But however, Santos became the unified champion when he threw Jordan Devlin to another chair and bent down, and he was unable to get up. So he is now fully the only sole survivor as the cruiserweight champion. But he did stated that this will etch his legacy in an interview, and that Legado is all family. But the real question is, who will be the lucky competitor to face him and hopefully dethrone him? Now, as you know, MSK are the new tag team champions. They're very proud of what they have accomplished, but of course they asked the obvious question: who is going to win the NXT title and of course the unsanctioned match? That was a tough one for them because they said the same. They said the opposite. One says Cole, the other said Riley, and then Balor, Cross, that kind of thing. But we'll see what we get there. Next match is the NXT Women's Tag Team titles. Now, ever since the NXT Women's Tag Team Championship titles first came onto the scene, it was no surprise that somehow this was going to happen, because I did mention before that we hardly get to see the WWE Women's Championship defended in the NXT brand. Originally, we were expected to have that, but ever since they crowned Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai as the first inaugural champions, and of course Moon and Blackheart became the first challengers, it would make sense why they had to drop it, because we can assume that they were planning to give Raquel Gonzalez a much bigger push. But having Blackheart and Moon become the tag champions, it would make sense, because as you know, Moon has been the NXT Women's Champion before. So this could be something in her resume that we could get behind, which I'm okay with. But the match was pretty interesting. Not the best, to might add, but it was an interesting match. It was a good one, a solid one. But it did end it in favor of course, a very interesting move where Moon did apply the Eclipse on both women, but it was Shotzi Blackheart who applied the Swanton, or of a Swanton, what the other type of maneuver, onto Hartwell and allowing her to pin the match, retaining their NXT Women's Tag Team titles, which is great. Next match, this one is for the North American Championship between last night winner for the Gauntlet match, Bronson Reed, taking on Johnny Gargano. But as you know, Johnny always has a plan. He has his little sidekick, Austin Theory. But however, the match kind of went in a very interesting way. Like, it was another David versus Goliath. You would have assumed Goliath would have won, but however, because of biblical proportions, it was David who won. But Gargano must have done at least twice of that finisher move to retain the title. So the real question is, who will be the next competitor to face him? And I can guess maybe about 2 or 3 at the most I can think of. LA Knight is one, Dexter Lumis, and I think possibly Pete Dunne. I'm not sure. Those are my top 3 picks. Who could face Johnny Gargano? Next match is the NXT Championship. This was a match that, of course, it was inevitable that was going to happen. As you know, Cross had to relinquish the title after beating, Keith Lee in a match. And after winning, he had to relinquish the title. But however, there was another opportunity who was going to be crowned, and of course, there was that Adam Cole versus Finn Balor. It was a great match, but however, you would have expected right away that it was going to be Cross who was going to win, and I'm okay with that. I feel like okay, Cross should pick up the high horse and go back to becoming the champion that we were expecting. That is something we can get behind because, as you know, he lost. He had to relinquish it. He did not lose it. And I feel maybe they're now picking up the slack where they were supposed to left off with Cross, but I'm okay with the idea. And this is one of the two best matches. But however, my number one best match was the unsanctioned match. Now, do not compare this to the unsanctioned match with Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. This is a different storyline. You see, that story between Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, this was about Britt who was trying to prove a point saying that Thunder Rosa doesn't belong in AEW. This is about two friends where you got Adam Cole who used the Undisputed Era for a long time for his own personal gain. But Kyle O'Reilly, it's all about for him friendships and having each other's backs. That's what's been the story, and that's what makes it different. But man, this match was so insane. I kind of nearly had heart attacks in this whole thing. But I think the biggest moment was the ending where Kyle O'Reilly chained up. He got Cole on top of a chair, like on top of him, and then he put the chain around his knee to give him that little knee shot, crushing him down to the chair, and he was shaking. And of course, Adam Cole picked up the victory with the pinfall. Adam Cole was dead to the ground. But the real question now, what's next for Kyle O'Reilly? As we now know, Undisputed Era is done. So what's next for Kyle O'Reilly? Should be going for the NXT title? I would say yes. But we'll see how they're going to build up on this particular storyline because I did like the last two matches. So I think that's it right now with NXT Takeover Stand and Deliver. Let's move on with Impact Wrestling. Okay, so this is the first night and a Thursday night for Impact Wrestling to broadcast their show. As you know, they moved it Tuesday to Thursdays. Now, some of you probably question, they move it because they're scared of them. Nope. Whoever said that, you must be either a moron, or you were drinking too much, or smoked too much weed. They weren't doing that. Impact Wrestling has no interest whatsoever to compete against WWE. So whoever thinks that way, you guys better pay attention closely because that's not the reason. Impact Wrestling only gets 100,000 views every single time. But it's a good move because it helps them focus on their own thing. They don't need to pay attention what WWE is doing. They need to do what they're doing. That's the reason they move. Now, whoever thinks that way, slap yourself in the back of the head. Now, it opened up with Kenny, Don Callis, and the Good Brothers arriving in Nashville, getting ready for their main event against Swan, Edwards, and Mac. But the opening match was a 6-women tag team match. On one corner, we have Tenille Dashwood, Alicia, and of course, Nevaeh taking on Rosemary, Jordan Grace, and Havoc. Now, as you know, Havoc and Nevaeh broke up because Havoc now looked at as herself that she's not the weakest link. That Nevaeh realizes she's not the weakest link, but Havoc is. That's how it went down. But the best moment is when, of course, Nevaeh swept herself with Havoc through a table, but this allowed for Rosemary to pick up the victory, while Tenille Dashwood, who seems like she's in the mood but not, lost the match. But Keep in mind, these women will compete in a number one contendership at Hardcore Justice, which I'm very excited to see. Now, in an interview, they discussed to Matt Cardona, as you know, a week ago on the last Tuesday night. What was it? 2 weeks ago, Matt Cardona said that he would issue a challenge against Brian Myers. Now, Brian Myers, who's been in a bad mood every single time, he thinks that Matt Cardona's been chasing him, trying to chase his coattails, and saying that Impact Wrestling is his show, that he owns it, that he's the franchise. Matt Cardona had it with him, so he issued a challenge. And when the following week, which was last week, Myers said no. But Matt was okay. He's like, fine, I got to focus on my own thing. So he decided, okay, that's cool. That's cool. I'll just focus here where I'm supposed to be. So he set the face against Jake something, and that was the match coming up. Now, there was a little bit of a, how to say, a more of a introduction of someone. I think someone from TNA days is returning. And it was a woman. And it said on the mirror, "Let's get wild." It's WILDE. I'm like thinking, wait a minute. Is she coming out of retirement? Taylor Wilde? And if it is, wow. Welcome back. Now, Susan was in a match earlier in a Behind the Impact or something, or before the Impact, against Jazz, and Jazz took her silly. She was... Apparently, we're now seeing the transition and possible return of Su Yung. Now, Deonna Purrazzo is trying to ensure Su Yung does not come back, so she calls herself Sue, and then she goes, Susan. But there is a chance we may see Su Yung return. I'm kind of excited to see that. Now, the match between Matt Cardona and Jake Sun was going great. It was smooth. But however, it ended in no contest when Brian Myers showed up and attacked both these men. He injured Jake something by tossing him with his eye in the edge of the stairways. But however, he decided to accept the challenge. So basically, I don't know what Brian Myers was thinking. He goes out running his mouth saying that Matt Cardona's been chasing him, that, he's trying to steal his thunder, but that's not true. He got signed because it was just a coincidence. But Brian Myers, he's in a bad mood. He thinks he's the most professional. But it doesn't end there. Later on in the evening, he come across someone that he turned his back on. I'm talking about his former friend and mentor, Tommy Dreamer. So, he told him that he's booked in a match at Hardcore, but he wasn't interested, but he did. And his opponent is Jake Something in a blindfold match. So basically, Brian Myers is always in a bad mood, and he didn't like it. So he thought it was really messed up of Tommy Dreamer, but he said, but as you all recall, Scott D'Amore gave him full authority, full power to book this event. So that means people should not be bitching about it. So that's how it goes. Now, recently we saw what happened last week. What's his name? James Storm won his 1,000 match against Eric Young. But however, it looks like the whole thing is going back under the bus with Diener. He's giving him an opportunity to do something about it. But however, he told him he's going to go at it alone. But if he loses, there will be consequences. So he's like prepared for it. Now, this match was booked already. But before it, we had Triple XL bump in to Trey Miguel. Now, Trey doesn't want nothing to do with Sami. He's not in it to be by his side. But of course, once again, Triple XL decides lack of passion. That's the last thing that he needs to hear. So it became a tag match between Triple XL and Sami Callihan and Trey Miguel. At first, Trey did not show up, but Trey finally showed up for himself. He's not teaming with Sami. He's been ignoring him. Basically, it's like, I don't want nothing to do with you. But Sami thinks he can teach him to bring back his passion. But however, the match won by Trey, and he doesn't want nothing to do with them whatsoever. So it's like, I'm done. I don't want nothing to do with you. But where does this go to? I don't know. Now, in the Swingers Palace, you know how people lose their luck. But however, Storm actually remembered Sabian has to set up in a match. He went down, and of course, he told Chris Harris, like, sorry about your damn luck and all this stuff, and they just left him there. And it became later the match between Chris Sabin and Diener. The match went well. It kind of went exactly in the favor of Chris Sabin. But however, this whole thing was a trap by Violent by Design. While you got Sabian and Storm in the ring, Rhino and Diener attacked them. But however, Eric Young attacked Harris, who was still at the palace, saying that what happens next is all his fault. So basically, he's trying to get into Storm's head because he will not take the loss too lightly, believing that the sickness got to him and he has to rectify it. Now, as you know, Austin Theory is going to face off in a triple threat match in Rebellion against Josh Alexander and TJP. But however, once again, the executive and booker of Hardcore Justice showed up. He booked all three competitors in a tag match. So, however, they have to pick up a partner. I don't know who, but it's going to be interesting. So that is going to be booked. Now, in an interview with Deonna Purrazzo, she's saying that she respects her, but it's time for her to go. The age of the Virtuosa is in hand, and it's going to be her time. But however, there is a little factor with saying we could see the transformation of Susan come back, Su Yung come back. I'm kind of excited for that. Now, let's go to the main event, which was between Wooly Mack, Eddie Edwards, and Rich Swann versus Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. This was another good match. As you know, the guys from Impact are facing off against the Invaders. But of course, you know Don Callis is going to be there to show up and help Kenny. He goes out saying Kenny is God and all this other stuff. But the best moment is Kenny had Rich Swann in the One-Wing Angel position, but somehow was able to get out of it. So that was a close one. But the real question remains, can he do that again in Rebellion? We're yet to see it. But however, he did not pin Omega like he wanted. He actually pinned Carl Anderson, allowing for Swann to win for his team. Okay, so that's pretty much the first night of Impact being on Thursday, but there'll be more to come. I got New Japan Strong and 205 Live, and add in something new whenever I can get, whatever I decide. That's going to be the next episode. But don't forget, this Saturday is the first night of WrestleMania, and then Sunday, the other WrestleMania. So I will review those at another time once I collect everything. Put them all in one episode. So I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.